Saturday, October 31 has been announced as a National Mourning Day dedicated to all the children or the kids who lost their lives during the Saturday massacre at Mother Francisca International School, Fiango, Kumba. The head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, made this public through a communique earlier this evening. Good evening and welcome to Prime News on My Major Prime. We're live on My Major Prime, live from the economic capital of the country. My name is Genda Pelgrim Blanche. Can we now revisit the interministerial delegation that visited Kumba yesterday, headed by the Minister of Territorial Administration, Minister Paul Atanganje. The visit to Kumba was to evaluate the security situation of the city following the attack perpetrated by unidentified gunmen on some students of a school that is Mother Francisca International School in Fiango, Kumba. Details with Tamfu Sidwan Dimbia in the following report.
The interministerial delegation, led by the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganje, came to Kumba to evaluate the security situation in the city following Saturday's gruesome killings of students at Mother Francisca International College, Fiango, Kumba.
Even the military will never shoot a child.
According to Minister Atanganje Paul, the attack was carried out by separatist fighters and that they will all face the consequences of their action.
Who killed those young children? Those who have been killing and beheading. There is no hiding place from the Father of creation, which is God. No hiding place. You cannot commit atrocities and hide.
He also stated that authority comes from God, quoting Romans chapter 13, verse 1 to 5, and stating that President Paul Biya is head of state because God ordained him to be.
Open your Bible, you see, Romans 13, 1 to 5. That power comes from God. And all those who have authority, they come from God. President Paul is head of state because God said, you are the head of state.
At this point, a woman whose relative also lost her life during the school attack objected and openly challenged the minister, stating that the government has failed and that the minister should stop pretending. Minister Paul Atanganje also told families of victims to take heart and continue to believe in the government. While the minister was addressing families of victims of the attack, some women marched to the premises of the Kumba City Council, calling on justice for the dead students and urging that the state should create space for peace to reign. It should be noted that the three ministers did not visit the crime scene nor the hospitals where some of those students are currently receiving treatment.
Leader of MRC political party, Professor Maurice Kamto, has equally condemned the gruesome killing of school children in Kumba on Saturday, October 24, 2020. He equally calls on authorities that be to do the needful for peace to return in the two restive regions of the country. Details with Audrey Zatsa in the following report.
Most of the leaders of the national political scene have condemned these heinous crimes perpetrated on defenseless children, and Professor Maurice Kamto of the Cameroon's Renaissance Movement Party has not remained in the sidelines of this wind of solidarity. In a 9-minute video where he addresses Cameroonians on the Kumba massacre, starting by sympathizing with the families of the victims and condemning the act, he requests for an independent international investigation into the atrocities.
Calls for an independent international investigation into these atrocities to be opened, followed by prosecution and severe sentences against the perpetrators. The CRN points out to deplore the attitude of the regime, which continues to favor the military option for the settlement of the Anglophone crisis, even though it has shown all its limits.
Speaking on his propositions for the end of the crisis, he says,
CRM, while disapproving of the trivialization of violence in the Anglophone crisis, reiterates once again the following emergency measures. 1. An immediate ceasefire accepted by both the government and separatist groups. 2. The establishment of an independent international commission of inquiry to shed light on all the crimes committed in the Northwest and Southwest since the outbreak of the Anglophone crisis, starting with the Kumba tragedy. 3. The opening of a genuine inclusive dialogue with the facilitation of international partners. 4. The release of all those arrested in connection with the Anglophone crisis. The implementation of these measures is even more urgent since no army can win an asymmetrical civil war without decimating the innocent civilian population.
Ending his speech, the professor formulated his wish and ambition, which is a chance to an inclusive dialogue.
Anger over the recent Kumba massacre has also pushed most Cameroonians to express their discontent, dissatisfaction and frustration through peaceful protests on the streets of most cities in the National Triangle. They're also using the message line and the Anglophone crisis and find a permanent solution to the crisis that has ravaged the two English-speaking regions of the country for over 4 years now. Details with Bokengo Kemya.
Heart-wrenching pain, uncertain motives and desires, too many what-ifs are some of the emotions for parents who recently lost their children in the Kumba gruesome killing attack. This inhuman act have sparked reactions across the country from many women, one of which include Reverend Dr. Eris Mary Ndinga.
You shoot your own, you cut the head of your baby, and yet where is the future? Where is the future? What are we talking about here? I'm not afraid of no Ambazonian. Wake up and tell me, are you not tired of drinking blood? Are you not tired of sucking blood? Are you not tired? Are you not tired of sending children home, become parents without parents? Are you not tired of seeing women becoming widows? Are you not very soon the girls in Bamenda will not even have husbands because you have killed all their husbands?
Victims say,
You can stop before the storm and you speak everything. But I want to mention to something that is the God in Bible that watches everybody. And the Bible said that he said that
it is important to note that the southwest and northwest regions of the country have for 4 years now been battling with the Anglophone crisis, which started off as a peaceful protest but have now become a field of bloodshed.
I am very angry since on Saturday. I have not eaten. I cannot sleep because of this war, this nonsense crisis, this ungodly war. We are suffering.
As the women across the country decry violence and advocate for peace, one can only hope and pray that the powers that be react positively in denouncing the killings in these parts of the country.
In same line, Stand Up for Cameroon has called for National Mourning Day on Friday, October 30 to decry or denounce the gruesome killings of kids and also dedicate the day to all the victims or all those who died on Saturday, October 24 in Kumba during the attack perpetrated by armed individuals. This was disclosed earlier today during a press conference. Lasha Kingsley tells us more.
The coalition of political parties and civil society organizations made the call today in Douala during a press conference. Barrister Michelle Ndoki is a member of the movement.
Yesterday I saw very courageous and fearless women. Yesterday, that was not in the 1990s, that was not when Ruben Ulyobe stood up, that was yesterday, after the repression, after the killings in Gabo, after they have lost people in Bamenda, after the shooting in Bamenda. I saw women standing up. It is not about not being afraid.
Edith Kawala is the national coordinator of Stand Up for Cameroon.
On Friday, we will mourn, but if we stop after Friday, we will still have another incident and we'll still come back here to mourn again. So these actions are not sufficient. Two things are happening. We are mourning, but even now as we speak, and especially over this weekend, groups are meeting all over the country and online to define our demands as a people to the people who are holding guns, because we are all responsible, but some are more responsible than others.
She says there is a need for an urgent inclusive dialogue to end the killings.
We talk about dialogue. At the stage of this crisis, 4 years ago, it was maybe a dialogue between 15 to 20 people, key people, who were leading the different sides of the conflict. Today, it is a dialogue in every district, in every municipality in the northwest and southwest region before you even get to a national dialogue. The mothers, the fathers, the children, the boys, the girls, the religious people, the school proprietors, the civil society, the bike riders, and so on. We have to sit those communities around the table. And we must have the AMBA and the army there. They are both the perpetrators and the victims. They too are perpetrators and they are victims. And it is by sitting down with those communities that we will be able to heal. We must give victims the opportunity to speak.
The press conference ended with a call on all Cameroonians to use the End Anglophone Crisis hashtag, as it reminds them all not to relent their efforts to ending the horrific war that has cost Cameroon so many lives.
We now revisit jungle justice meted on a young boy in Kumba. He was caught trying to attack the occupants of a house. Identified as a thief, the occupants raised alarm. He was caught and burnt to death. Nora Kakibi completes the story.
Recently in Kumba, where the local population is still struggling to digest the gruesome and barbaric attack on school children, a young man was burned to death as he attempted breaking into a house in the Kmer neighborhood in the town. According to the occupant of the house, she heard a loud bang on the door and was frightened, thinking the worst had happened, given the recent murders in Kumba. Sources say Tabi, as he was called, a carpenter, had made a calculated move to attack a house, trusting that the owner of the house must have left for work and hoping that he will only meet his vulnerable and helpless wife. But unfortunately for him, on storming the house and banging on the door with a huge stone to scare the lady, he embarrassingly met the man instead. The alleged thief, Tabi, immediately raised a machete to attack the man, in which attack the man sustained injuries as he struggled to defend himself and his family. The man and his wife immediately raised an alarm by screaming and alerting the neighbors and passers-by, who eventually came to their rescue and fell on the intruder for mob justice. Considering the fact that this is happening at a time when Kumba is still aggrieved and recovering from the horrific attack by some unidentified gunmen, the angry population did not fail to unleash their pain and frustration on the guy as he was burnt to death.
Here on to the 6:30 Prime News on My Media Prime. The population of Boganjo village in Mutengene Court area have reaffirmed unity and solidarity for homeland following recent unrest masterminded by persons who, according to villagers, want to tarnish the image of the village. This was during an extraordinary come-together which took place at the palace of the Boganjo village recently. Kuma Norembom with details.
The population of Bunganju, a village in the Mutengene Court area in Tiko subdivision, has given their unflinching support to the traditional ruler, Chief Litake Mwangambua, the 8th traditional ruler of Bunganju village. They made this declaration during an extraordinary come-together by the sons and daughters of Bunganju village following a recent protest, unrest, and media outburst of some detractors of the village peace led by one Mr. Mbela Elive John. They made their voices heard over the weekend at the palace of Bunganju village through the chairman of the traditional council, Mr. Nganje John. The traditional council chairman disclosed that Mr. Mbela John Elive is a native from Mapanja village in the Bojongo Court area and only migrated to Mutengene when he was recruited to work in a private plantation owned by one Mr. Ngongi of blessed memory. He added that it is rather unfortunate that today he is meddling with land issues in Bunganju village. Mr. Joseph Lifafenjo further disclosed that his late father was a caretaker of a parcel of land in Bunganju village. He regretted the fact that through the influence of Mbela John Elive, he became involved in illegal land transactions due to the absence of a chief at that time.
Everywhere that we were going, I was the one standing in front, it's not even Mr. Mbela. So we started selling the land, coming here at night, selling land to people, putting people here and backdating document, forging document, putting a suke, and so many people were occupied, they were using the land. And they still used me to take some boys, and we came and burned the whole palace down. So when it happened like that, they told me that we have to fight Chief Litake Mwangambua to remove it out of this land so that we will have an opportunity to be selling.
He equally confessed of several attempts to eliminate the life of Chief Litake Mwangambua as he was sponsored by the chief's detractors to Bamenda and as far as to Nigeria.
So they sent me to Bamenda. I went to Bamenda. I was there about 1 week. So we went to the person there who was a traditional doctor who was working there. And the traditional doctor said that the chief is the son of that area. He cannot do anything that can affect the chief. That I should go back. I came back and they sent me to Nigeria. I went to Nigeria. So when I was in Nigeria, 2 weeks again in Nigeria, I went to another traditional doctor. And the traditional doctor told me that this man is very difficult. This man is a son of the soil. He cannot harm somebody who is innocent.
On his part, the legal advisor of Bunganju village, Barrister Charles Lyonga, called on inhabitants of Bunganju village to respect authorities put in place and recognized by the state. He warned all those trespassing or have illegal land transactions to back off or will face the consequences of the law.
This is a chief who has been recognized by administration, and the chief has a federal order which gives him a command, the authority to be the chief of the village.
It is worth mentioning to note that some of the non-indigenous settlers who bought land from illegal landlords but today recognize the authority of Chief Litake Mwangambua as the chief of Bunganju village have been given their land attestations and authorized to settle in Bunganju village with strict respect of the customs and traditions of Bunganju village. The chief is therefore calling on all those who have acquired land from illegal landowners to come to him for appeasement.
Fighting against illicit trade in the country, the custom officers at the Douala International Airport have seized a consignment of gold bars worth about 650 million francs CFA on transit from Chad. Forces of law and order have equally seized stock of explosives and chemicals in Adamawa region. Eileen Sama reports.
The gold trafficker is a Chadian national by name Mustafa Saleh, who was on transit to Cameroon through the Ethiopian Airlines before he was apprehended at the Douala International Airport. Reports say the gold bars were packed in blocks in the luggage of Mustafa, 38 pieces of them weighing 20 kilograms, worth some 650 million francs CFA. The custom officers on duty Tuesday, October 27, 2020 at the Douala International Airport have opened an investigation to crack down this network of gold traffickers operating between the two countries, which share many bilateral cooperations. Still in its fight against illicit trade, custom officers in the Adamawa region of Cameroon same day intercepted a consignment of 11 explosives and chemicals at the Concha checkpoint, while those in Yaoundé seized a stock of 3,500 diazepam tablets, also known as a Valium, a strong sedative and anxiety killer. According to official figures, Cameroon loses over 100 billion francs CFA yearly in illicit trading.
Out of the country, relative calm has returned to most parts of Nigeria following weeks of unrest. The citizens were on the streets to protest or decry police brutality and demand better living conditions, though reports confirm that looting still continues or is still ongoing in some parts of Nigeria. These and more in the following report.
Relative calm has returned to Nigeria after over 2 weeks of unrest. But citizens were on the streets to decry police brutality, demand better economic conditions and central power generation, but were brutally suppressed. Amnesty International says at least 56 people have died since mid-October in the process across Nigeria. Looting is, however, becoming a common sight in Nigeria as the country suffers the economic consequences of the pandemic. On Monday, a warehouse containing food intended for poor households affected by COVID-19 was emptied in Abuja. Recently, residents of several cities in the country have invaded and looted hangars in Lagos, Jos, Port Harcourt, Abuja. Most looters claim they are hungry, while there is plenty of food in the country and the government is kidding by leaving this food in the warehouse. Government officials also claim all aid has not been distributed because they have chosen to keep strategic reserves in anticipation of a second wave of the coronavirus pandemic. In Kenya, members of parliament in Kenya are debating on the reform of the constitution. The parliament will have to vote on an amendment to the 2010 constitution, which will change the presidential system into a hybrid structure that will reintroduce an official role for the leader of the opposition. This law is a consequence of the violence that occurred after the election in 2017 and caused about 90 deaths. And according to the President Uhuru Kenyatta, the objective is really nothing more than to find a lasting solution that will heal the land. Armed men on motorbikes have kidnapped an American citizen from his home in southern Niger. The incident happened in the rural village of Masalata in the department of Benin, Koni, on the Nigerian border. Witnesses affirmed the kidnappers were armed with Kalashnikovs and left on 3 motorcycles towards Nigeria. Niger is facing jihadist attacks that has claimed the lives of many, despite help from French and US forces. There are also suffering attacks from Nigerian Islamist group Boko Haram on its southeastern borders.
Prime News ends here. Thanks very much for being a part of today's edition of Prime News. Join us tomorrow, God willing, at 6:30 Cameroon time for another edition of Prime News on My Media Prime. The news was coordinated by Faith Tataberenue, produced by Ewane Eli Nolinga. My name is Gienda Peojin Blanche King. Stay tuned to My Media Prime at 7 p.m. Cameroon time. Kim Leonard will be here with Prime Hour, hopefully. Stay tuned to My Media Prime. Good night.